Start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We will start with a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mary. Dina Montero.
Here.
Clark Howard. John Lansing. Christine Lawlidge. Marianne Brandon.
Here.
Melinda Ward. She's trying to get in. There she is.
She is there.
There she is.
I'm here.
And Paul Putke.
Here.
And then everyone was excused. Rebecca Reed. Here. Dave Boo Schmidt. Here. Deanna Nino.
Here.
Pamela Allegria. Here. Tracy McDonald.
Here.
Charles Withers.
Soon to be Zoom.
Oh, sorry. Come in, Charles. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, approval of the meeting minutes from May 24th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve
I will.
the minutes of the 24th.
And a second?
I'm sorry.
Second. So, motion by Debbie Boo Schmidt, second by Rebecca Reed. Now for discussion. Paul,
On page 5, my name's spelled several times wrong.
Thank you.
Also on page 9.
Okay.
Pamela,
I can't find the page, but it's the the loan is 5,005, not 500,000.
It's on page 2. Okay. In the very end, a couple of typos, but I'll do those.
Okay. Is it 500,000 instead of the 525?
It's 525, you have 550.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
that's a little bit more.
paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I have a couple of comments on here.
Okay.
Two things that I could not find in the minutes. One was, my initial request that, the chart of accounts
Yes,
be defined and entered.
yes.
The only place that appears is my reminder at the end of the minutes.
True that.
And that, I did say that in the morning. And the other thing is that okay, sorry about that. Should have turned my phone on. That I commented in the morning, and I lost my train of thought. Yes, we had a discussion regarding auditors. The only thing I can find is a discussion on page, it was in regard to the ODOT forensic audit.
Correct, yes.
But we also had a discussion about the audits, the annual audits for the agency.
Okay.
And we were told that it's really difficult to get auditors. I think I remember asking the question, when was our last audit? And none of that discussion is reflected in these minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Addendum to that, I have notes, it says 30,000, and I asked why so high, and so only half of went from 14,000 to 30,000, and so only half of it's been paid, and that's why it's 30,000. Just as a note.
What was it?
Does anyone,
What was paid? What was
the audit,
Oh, okay. That been that same conversation.
That was during that same conversation. So
Okay.
none of the agency routine annual audits, none of that discussion shows in these minutes.
Okay. I'll have to go back and listen to that again.
Sorry.
Okay, so
That would be the compliance. That was the
it
compliance.
was no, not the compliance audit. Every year, the agency
Annual audit.
must
Annual
be audited, yes. So,
And they're a year behind.
yes,
So we have.
well, there was a whole discussion on that is not reflected in the minutes. Also, I've gone through and there are a lot of places where we asked questions. And I want to know the answers to those questions. We also instructed things to be done. I want to know if they got done. So after we do the minutes, I'm gonna go back to the minutes and go through to find out, did this get done? Did this get done? Where's this? That kind of thing. So, Pamela,
Now, I could be wrong on page 3, and you, this is what you said is the second paragraph, and the last line in the second paragraph. I thought that figure was 125,000 somewhere, not 62,000. But I could be wrong, you know, I've read so many figures.
okay, I'm not seeing this on page 3.
3, no? In the
You said
minutes.
page 3?
Yeah, in the minutes.
Okay, that's where I'm looking.
So it'll be the second paragraph, starts out budget share. Oh
Um,
my gosh, I'm in the wrong year. No,
okay,
this is the right year, what am I doing? I'm told you, different. I have too many figures here.
okay,
No, it
so
doesn't.
tell me the first sentence of the paragraph.
Budget Chair Montero asked if the district is caught up on paying the obligations for the payroll.
All right, I'm not finding it.
Am I doing
It's
this?
right, yeah, page 3.
It's
Oh,
first,
here, asked if the district, okay, yes, I
so
see
it's the
that.
last line. And we
In that first in that paragraph.
right, and so
Right.
it talks about the accrued vacation time, and I thought that was 125,000. No, 62,000.
I think I remember 62,000,
Okay, so where did I get 125? Okay,
I don't know.
okay, maybe it was one of those days, okay, sorry.
Deanna,
Thank you. So on page 4, the last paragraph of item 7,
which starts with the words John Ramsey.
John Lansing said you have been dealing with a state agency. So that one, on the third line, when you are mentioning about our board talking to the different senators and Congress, so it says Senator Bonaccini.
Oh,
It should be
it's
Congresswoman Bonamici.
Thank you so much for catching that.
Then on page 7, that's line 23. It starts with the transportation options plan on line 23 is not 100%.
Hey, hold on,
So-
page 7,
Page 7,
yes, the line 23.
yeah, right at the top, line 23. And then at the end of that line 23, it says Louis said the marketing plan was a huge fraud. That line actually was on the previous page on line 15 and 21. Because that's when we talked about the marketing plan. So it shouldn't be on line 23.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
repeated.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so that needs to,
And then on page 8, under requirements summary, allocated general fund, budget officer Louis went over each line. And then it starts talking about the personnel services. And this is when Chair Montero was asking about our full-time employees. So then at the end of that paragraph, when it says Sue Farmer said we had 46 full-time employees, we have 15 employees now. Just for clarification, it's that we had 46 full-time employees before we suspended service on April 29th. And now we have 15 employees.
right, so there should be some clarification.
Yeah, like before suspending service, or else it's confusing, 46 or 50.
Yeah, unless you know the running situation, it is confusing, thank you.
Yeah, and that's it for me, thank you.
And so it probably should say we currently have.
Yeah, like we had 46 and we currently have 15, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for anybody? Thank you for being so astute on all this, I appreciate it. Pamela,
Well, this is actually going to the required, how many employees do we have? We have 14?
okay, let's not start discussing.
Oh,
We're talking about whether the minutes are accurate. We're gonna get back to that,
okay.
but, and the minutes reflect what that discussion was.
Okay,
Yes, there was a lot of go back and forth, but the ultimate end of that discussion
okay.
is reflected. Charles?
Is discussion finished on the minutes?
Oh, no, not at all,
On the minutes?
not at all.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So, that's a lot of changes and fixes. Mary, how
Yes.
soon could corrected minutes be available?
I don't know. We have a meeting today,
Right,
so it'll probably be tomorrow. Depends on how like the meeting goes.
okay.
I could leave the meeting and go correct them.
We probably need you here. So does somebody want to call for the question? Paul,
Do you want to just table the minutes for now and move on?
we can table them, yes, or we
Was that-
can just not approve them subject to the ultimate correction. You can do either one. What would the group rather do?
I can move to table.
I have a question, so could we approve the amended minutes once Mary has them ready, like on a quick meeting that we do online, and we all just do it later this week or next week?
Let's do a public meeting.
I'd rather do it as a public meeting.
But as a public meeting, we just do it online so that not everybody has to come just to approve the minutes. Could we do a public meeting online with
Well,
the
you
budget
do,
committee?
you do your board meetings on Zoom,
We could do
so
a
I-
board meeting.
so I would, not during a board meeting, but you could arrange it like you do the board meetings. We could do it on Zoom.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay, because if we postpone it till then, if we table it, then we're gonna have another set of minutes to be looking at the same time. So, but that's not bad. That's not bad.
Meaning that on that shorter meeting, we would revise the May 24th and June 7th?
Possible. I've never understood why you wait a whole year to look at that last day of your meeting, because who remembers a year later what happened?
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I have a motion on the table to table the approval of the minutes. Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
So Tracy moves and Pam seconds. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Anyone opposed? Okay, so approval of the minutes is tabled. So I would like to take chairman's privilege, I guess, on this, and I would like to now go through the minutes, asking the questions as to whether or not actions that we asked to be carried out were in fact carried out. Okay, so we're gonna start on page, pages are at the bottom, so it's hard for me to see. Page 2, no. Okay, so yes, page 2, the last paragraph, where I asked if a supplemental budget had been passed. And I know that later on in the minutes, it does show that I made the recommendation that the board pass the supplemental budget. What, has that been done?
That has not been done. All I can offer in support of that is that there have been many things being taken care of by few people. It is our intention to pass a supplemental budget at the meeting on the 22nd to cover this loan. If we had made a supplemental prior to this time, we'd be making another one anyway, because just earlier today, we approved the second loan from the state, or an amendment to the first loan. So there will be a supplemental made and approved before the end of the year. It hasn't been done yet.
Have you expended any funds out of that $505,000 loan?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so per local budget law, you are out of compliance. This agency is out of compliance.
Agreed.
And I don't know what the penalties are for that, or if there are any, but I would say, when is your June budget meeting is
22nd.
June meeting is 22nd. I would call a special meeting, but it's up to the board to do what they're gonna do. I just wanna point out that the agency's out of compliance.
Could we do that after this meeting? No, because it's not a public notice.
You have to have public notice, et cetera. I did ask if all the employee payroll deductions and all the obligations coming out of those had been paid. So the obligations to pay for health insurance, whatever kinds of payroll deductions are made of the employees' monies. And Kelly, could you reaffirm for me that all of those have been paid?
All of that has been paid.
Okay. So there's nothing outstanding on any employees' obligations to any of their benefits?
Just what's being processed in the AP this week for our last payment, which was last week.
Okay. All right, the next. Let me see, the 2 paragraphs down, Commissioner Alegria said on page 35, there's supposed to be a business plan. She asked what the status of the report was. Can you bring us up to date on that, Paul?
I did draft a business plan. I did send it to ODOT through Arla to the folks who have made that a requirement of the loan. I'd be glad to provide a copy if that's what this committee would like.
Is that what this committee would like?
Certainly.
Nope.
Okay, if you could have that, that would be great. Okay. So now this is, going back to what you said a little earlier, that we would have had to do 2 supplemental budgets. If you go a little further in this same paragraph, what Kelly told us was that the first loan would take us to the end of the biennium, to June 30th. And the second loan would actually be in this 23-24 budget. So it should be built into the budget figures we're looking at today. Is that true? Is that right?
No, the second loan finishes out our 23 fiscal year. And then we should get funding in July to roll forward with.
A little clarification. The first loan would not have gotten us through the end of June.
Okay,
The second loan the purpose of which is to carry us until we get our SIF funding in July of 23.
Okay,
So which year is the
So-
second
so what they're
500,000?
telling us is both loans are in the current fiscal year. Am I understanding that
That's correct.
correctly?
That's
Okay.
correct. And for the benefit of the committee, I might point out that this amendment to the first loan comes in the form of a draw arrangement where we will only draw what we need going forward. So it's our hope and our intent not to expend the entire 500,000 of the amended amount.
Right. Okay, and because it's a draw, it won't be money brought forward into the next year. If they- Okay. Do I see questions anywhere?
Well, maybe this is not correctly phrased, but the second 500,000, does that have to, if we approved it today, can that go into the budget we're looking at now? Or it has to be a supplemental?
Pam, we don't have to approve it today because it is for the current budget year, not for the budget year we are considering
That's what I-
23-24.
Okay.
We don't have to look at it
Okay.
at all.
I didn't state it right, that's what I
Yeah,
mean.
no, you're. Okay. Okay, so I'm just looking. I've got a. We looked at discussion of funds, number 8. Kelly, you had told us that the year-to-date actuals were to the end of March. I remember asking whether our figures today would take us to the end of April. Do the figures today take us to the end of April?
Yes, I know.
Okay, thank you. And if we go to the next page where it says line 14, did you, in the budget packet that you prepared for us today, are you still using the word other?
I am using the word other.
And are you adding any explanation on that line?
I did not on the budget sheets, no.
Okay, so when we get there, we'll be asking for that. All right, if you go further down, the paragraph starts line 15 to 24,
On page what?
same page.
Page 5.
3 sentences from the bottom, or 3 lines from the bottom. I requested a list of ODOT reimbursements that have been applied for and not yet paid year to date. And that's the list we got by email yesterday. Okay, we'll be discussing that. And it says that Paul asked Kelly if she could find out what the number was if they were holding more than $200,000. And you did not have a number at the moment, but you could get it. And by virtue of that list, okay, and that list didn't have a total on it, but it's 487,000 and something. I added it up last night.
Thank you.
So, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, Mindy.
So above that, I asked about line 21 and a bunch of zeros on the report. And I pulled up last year's packet and compared it to this year's packet for the second preceding year of 2021, and figures have been changed. Prior years' columns never change. So there's so many errors on this spreadsheet, I'm concerned about approving anything.
Okay, so Mindy, would you please, as we go through, would you point those out when we get to those?
Yep,
Okay. Okay. And down near the bottom, second paragraph from the bottom of page 5, I asked Arla to review the reported funding. Did you get to do that, Arla, and make a, we were gonna get corrected. I said it appears we're gonna have corrected spreadsheets after today. And I asked that Arla review the reported funding. Did you get by any chance the
budget?
and the spreadsheet that we got by email last night that says what ODOT owes us?
I did not get the spreadsheet that you got last night, but I did get the budget. I might have gotten the spreadsheet in prior time.
Could you provide that to Arla so she can be part of the discussion when we're looking at what ODOT owes us? Okay, and then, yeah, the amount that's on that spreadsheet that was sent to us is $487,122.48, if anybody wants to make a note of
Did
that.
you say that again, 400 what?
$487,122.48.
We don't.
100 and what?
487,122.48.
Thank you.
Okay. So 2 paragraphs down, we talked about if ODOT, Kelly asked Arla if ODOT was going to be releasing funds that have been allocated to them. And Kelly indicated she had not added them to the budget because she didn't know if they'd been released. So the monies that are on the spreadsheet that you know that ODOT owes us, is that indicated as a receivable or any kind of resource in the budget that we are going to be looking at?
No, because I don't know if they're going to release those funds to us or not, so I didn't budget for them to be released.
A little bit of clarification if I may.
Yes, please.
So the money that they've asked for reimbursement, we don't know when or if we're gonna be able to release those funds until after the forensic audit. But there are allocations for the fiscal year 24 through 25 that are on the budget sheet.
24-25. But why would we show things for 24-25 on the budget sheet for 23-24?
I'm sorry, 23, 24.
Oh, thank you.
The budget you're looking at now.
Okay. So I'm trying to process what you just told me. So there are some allocations from ODOT is what you're telling us.
Yes, and Kelly has put those in the budget.
Okay, okay. And since we're gonna talk about this anyway, can you tell us what the status is of the forensic audit?
We got held up in DOJ for a while and also our procurement office. We have an auditor that is set up to do phase 1. We would rather have been able to do phase 1 and 2s, but we're only gonna be able to do phase 1 at a time. And we are waiting for them to let us know when they're gonna be able to come out and do that. They're probably gonna be requesting a multitude of documents that they wanna do a desk review on.
Okay. Can you tell us what's the difference between phase 1 and phase 2?
Phase 1, they're gonna see if there's anything that they could find or if there's any fraud. And then phase 2 would be digging deeper to try to figure out what that is.
So does that mean that they don't find anything, they don't find fraud, that there won't be a phase 2?
Correct.
Okay.
Or if they don't find anything at all to make a comment on or fraud.
Okay. And so we don't know how long that's gonna take.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. If we go down 2 more paragraphs, Melinda reported the formula dollar amounts are also not on the spreadsheet. Kelly said she will fix that. Did you fix it, Kelly?
I'm sorry, did I fix that?
Melinda reported the formula dollar amounts are also not on the spreadsheet. Kelly said she will fix it. Did you fix it?
The formula dollar amounts for the upcoming fiscal year's ODOT funding? I don't know, I'm not sure what the formula dollar amounts on the spreadsheet are.
Mindy, you wanna,
There are many lines that I said had zeros from the preceding years, and when I went back and looked at it, the zeros are also on the preceding one, but the figures now do not match. They've been changed from the prior years. And prior year columns don't change.
Can you give me an example of one, Mindy?
Yeah, if you look at last year's, first preceding year, 2020 to 2021, and then you compare it to this year's second preceding year, 2020, 2021, those figures should never change. They just drop off, and there's 9 lines that have been changed. And they've been changed different from the first packet we got this year to this packet we just received. Figures in preceding years don't change.
I don't have an answer to that. I put those numbers in, the only numbers that I've changed are the updated, the year-to-date actuals.
The one line that has zeros in it that don't on preceding year packets are line 1 for available cash on hand for preceding years, and line 29, capital reserve fund preceding year figures are missing. I have them from prior year packets. On the general fund resources,
What page are you on, Melinda?
10 prior year general fund resources, page 37 on the first packet we got, page 10 on the second one.
Oh, I see. Oh, dearie.
I'll have to look at those. I must have changed them in error. This was all like straight back here.
okay, so we'll need to see it corrected to whatever the right amount is. And that's simply all you have to do is look at the previous budgets to get those amounts. Am I right, Miss Melinda?
Yes,
Okay. So, and
that makes me question, has anything been correct at all for the last couple of years? I mean, are you getting those figures from a computer and not prior year reports? Or are you pulling them from prior year reports?
Prior year reports.
Well, I have the prior year report in front of me and it doesn't match. Nine lines have been changed.
okay, so we need to get that fixed. All right, so we're gonna go to page 7. Let's see what line 23, it's transportation options plan on line 23 is not 100% reimbursable, so we are not going forward with that. Melinda asked what percentage was reimbursable. Kelly said she did not know off the top of her head. Did we find that answer to that question? How much of that is reimbursable?
It varies, and TO varies, based on how much time the TO spends in each category that she works in, he or she works in, but it's not a set percentage.
So it's not a set percentage that's reimbursable. So if the TO works in a certain area, it's reimbursable to a lesser amount than maybe another area. Is that what I'm understanding?
Her time was separated out into multiple different categories, we say. And part of those categories are reimbursable and part of them aren't, but it depends on how much of her time. So if she spends 85% in the reimbursable category, then 85% is reimbursable. But if she only spends 15% in that category, then 15% is reimbursable.
Okay. Melinda, does that answer your question from the last meeting?
If they're reimbursable in each different category, doesn't matter if it's split up, it's still 100% reimbursed, right? No. So she'll get 85% in one category and 10% in another. So the rest of her time goes where?
SETD pays for it.
Okay. But we don't know the percentage unless we know what category she worked in.
Correct.
So do we have a list of which categories reimburse how much, or is it's not set, it's according to hours worked?
Correct.
I guess I'm still confused.
We're
So
not TO anyway,
We're not
right?
doing TO going forward.
It's
each
zero.
category is reimbursed at they have their own percentages, and we don't have a list of that.
No, so she works. If 85% of the time is spent working in a category that's reimbursable, then that 85% is reimbursed.
But that's at 100%. The 85% is 100% of her time spent in that category is reimbursed.
Yes, but
Okay,
SETD has to pay for whatever part isn't reimbursed. So it varies depending on how many hours she.
I see. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Deanna?
Thank you. So then is that because of the nature of the grant that only certain things are reimbursable, or is it because we had to do like a match kind of situation?
Only certain parts are reimbursable.
And she was performing other duties that were not under that grant. Got it, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, if we go to line 29, it says Melinda commented that no previous information on capital reserve fund. Has that been fixed?
No, those are the lines I said are zeros.
They're still at zero?
Yep.
Page 7. Line.
Um,
I see where it is, thank you.
Preceding year resources general fund are zeros in the two previous categories, and those should never change.
Okay. So we still have zeros in our, on the report, on the budget you gave us.
Yes.
Okay,
Why is that? Why do we have zero?
I think it's a data entry error.
But if I'm seeing our current packet for the meeting that we're having today on page 9, that's the capital reserve fund. And if I look at the historical data, there are figures there. So is that what you were referring to?
No, I'm on the general fund.
What page is that of our current packet?
10,
page 10.
my page says page 10.
Page 10, general fund.
Yep.
Um,
Columns, the first two columns have zeros, and on my preceding report from last year, they're not zeros.
For the available cash on hand, line 1.
And line 29 also.
So it sounds like we have a recurring issue still, that we either have zeros or we have incorrect amounts for the previous 2 years.
Yep,
The trailing 2 years.
yep.
Okay,
And previous year columns do not change.
you are correct.
Kathy has her hand up.
we're taking public comments, at the
Oh,
end.
Okay,
Is this, do the prior balances automatically, no, they don't, they have to be manually inserted? Okay.
They don't pull forward. And then under total resources, it said Kelly will make changes and corrections and update the calculations. Did you do that, Kelly?
Where are you at?
I'm on the same page, which is page 7, and where it says total resources. The minutes say Kelly will make changes and corrections and update the calculations.
Yes, those have been updated because we added the funding from ODOT.
Okay. And then under special fund resources, Kelly will change the total from 700,000 to 2,102,861. Did that get done?
Not to that magnitude that we can discuss that now, or we can discuss it when we get into that.
Let's put that to be discussed when we're coming down
Okay.
through the budget lines. Okay, so that's the special resources, which happens to be the page I'm writing. Okay, Commissioner Nino asked, and this is under statewide transportation improvement fund discretionary, second paragraph. Commissioner Nino asked if there could be more explanation when we meet at the second meeting about why and how we transfer funds. Let's put that on the side, because I want to make sure that everybody understands how and why funds are transferred.
Thank you.
Okay? And then the next paragraph down, no, next page, requirement summary. Personnel services, the last line, we will leave it at 18 FTEs and make sure the total personnel services reflect that. Do they reflect that in the new budget document we've been given?
They reflect 14 FTE.
Okay, so it's 14, not 18. Okay.
It's
Sorry, do we have 14 or 15?
14. What does it say on the budget?
We have active 14.
14.
When we hire a director.
For the budget, then it'll be 15,
Yes,
correct. Except that,
if we hire.
so you still count that as an FTE, so it shouldn't be 14, it should be 15. Because you're budgeting for 15 in the budget, right?
Yeah, but we don't know we don't know if or when that director will be hired. We can add an amount in there, but we don't know what it's gonna be for the year.
But it should be
You should-
budgeted for under
Yes.
our wages, no?
Budgeted for, you just, I think I just need to change that.
Okay.
Are the wages budgeted for?
For the executive director as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
17 or 14.
Is it 15?
If you put the director.
It makes it 15.
The director's in there, so we will make it 15 FTEs. But I don't know when we're gonna hire the director, what we're gonna pay that him or her.
Yeah, that's always the case, but you always put it in your budget because you know it's gonna happen, you just don't know when.
I hope it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so then, couple of questions, just, this is again going through the budget, but just some questions. Line 13, the building lease in Seaside may change, is it changing?
Yes.
And are you dropping it?
Yes.
Okay,
What was the answer, I'm sorry?
Yes.
You're dropping the lease
Yes.
totally?
Yes.
Is that where the
Seaside.
files are stored? No,
No, that's the Seaside Public Service Office.
you're closing it, is that what you're saying?
It's closed.
Okay.
Oh,
Line 17, it says dues 24,000 seem too high. Did you get that figured out?
So Swiftly, which is used for our buses,
Yeah, that's software licensing and maintenance, for our automatic vehicle location for the, so that we can see the buses where they are
that's
online.
$15,000 a year.
Okay, so
And then our membership with SDAO is $4,500 a year. So
Okay.
those two by themselves
is less than 24,000.
just under
Okay.
24,000, so it gives us some room.
Line 24, you were gonna check the fuel rate. Did somebody do that?
Our average fuel cost last month. Oh, I have this too on a spreadsheet.
Are we talking about the amount of fuel used per month or the amount we're paying for the fuel?
The minutes say check the fuel rate, we should know what the minutes mean.
Well, 2 weeks ago, they were $3.99 for regular.
But rate can
They're
mean two things.
$4.49.
It can mean the cost, or it can mean how much are you using.
Well, I understand that.
Right,
But I'm saying, what I'm asking, I guess, is how you determine what that is, if it was 50 cents since the last time we actually.
well, for the purposes of the budget, you're making quote an educated guess.
So we go with the higher numbers.
That's what was gonna be checked, and somebody check on that to modify the budget that we were gonna get today.
I don't think we made a change in that, to be honest with you. From this statement, I wouldn't know if we were gonna look at the cost or we were gonna look at the gallons per month or. So if whoever made that request remembers what the intent was.
Well, Mary can go back and listen, and would you check to see what was meant by that? Thank you. And put that into our minute, yes. And then line 29, meeting expense should have a value. I think
It's zero now.
it was zeroed. And so we'll talk about that when we get there. And line 30, ODOT loan payment, check the amount. Somebody was gonna check the amount of the
The amount
ODOT.
of the ODOT loan payment is based on $1 million total. In case we needed to
Right,
use the full $1 million. And it's
Is that reflected in the document we have today
Yes.
on the $1 million? Okay. Line 34, may need to increase professional services.
I did that.
And, okay. Line 39, vehicle maintenance may be increased. Did that get done?
Yeah, yes, we increased the vehicle maintenance.
Okay. So, as you go down several paragraphs, Chair Montero said the budget committee could make a recommendation to the board to pursue a new accounting program. There was a motion, it passed. Did this recommendation make it to the board?
We haven't had a board meeting.
Okay, so how does that recommendation actually get to the board? Who has to present it?
Well, we just put it on the agenda
Okay, good deal.
and we'll make sure it's there.
Okay. So go to the next page, the not allocated general fund. Line 29 should be 430,401. Did that get changed?
Okay, what packet page are we? You're doing
I
it
don't
every
know,
way.
I'm looking at the minutes.
You're
And
looking at.
it's talking, in the general fund on line 29, the amount should be $430,401. And so did that get changed?
We actually have updated that differently, so we can talk about that when we
Okay.
get to that part.
And line 30 should be 0, did that get changed?
Yes.
Okay. And the total requirements comes in at 2,927,071? Or is that
That's
different?
updated.
That's been updated, okay. Let's see, So we talked about, go down several paragraphs where it says, Paul asked if ending fund balance should be determined by using a percentage. And Kelly said, look at what you think you will need depending on what when you receive your funding. And I indicated this is information you will want to bring to the next meeting. So we probably still want to talk about ending fund balances at some point. Okay, and Melinda Ward, this is at the very end. I don't know how Melinda Ward got a few years of the P&L statements, except that I know she keeps really good records. But she asked, and we all asked, that we all get copies of the P&L reports for the last few years. And I don't think I got them. I don't know if anybody else did.
No,
Okay,
and like 2019 to current.
right. So, oh, here's a correction for the minutes. Down at the bottom, Pam Allegria, it says budget secretary, shouldn't it be budget committee secretary?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I know I went over all my questions, wherever we said we wanted something done, or there was a question. Anybody have any others? Because I certainly don't think I caught absolutely everything.
So I just want to say, the chair has, gone over this thoroughly. And even though it may sound like a big position for Kelly, it's a lot of work. And we appreciate what you've done and that you will do anything that's required or suggested to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so, next item on our agenda is the budget officer is gonna go over the, chart of accounts.
Thank you. I appreciate the committee's patience. Many of us are working in areas that we're not completely familiar with. And for that, I apologize. I understand that we've made some requests and we're doing everything we can to meet those requests. I wish we could do it more quickly, but I would hope that you would realize there are many other things going on with having to lay off 2/3 of our people, answer media inquiries, and restructure our credit card situation with the bank, and many other things because of redistribution of staff. We're making a lot of efforts line by line to contact vendors and see where we can reduce our costs because of our reduced number of employees, and modify our service where we may not have gotten what I feel to be effective service for what we've been paying in the past. So we'll do our best to do our part on this too. Some of these answers that were not forthcoming today are not because we give little weight to what the committee has asked. To that end, Kelly spent quite a bit of time in your packet, page 2 through 4, 2 through 3, is a document that Kelly put together to help with the effort that we're doing here today, and also going forward to help the board through financials each month, so that you can see, without having to say what goes into this account or what goes into that account, Kelly's put together a definition of what goes into each of the lines on our requirements budget. So I hope that you find it helpful. I have already found it helpful. I think maybe Kelly has too. So this is there as a aid to help you in working on the budget and to help the board in understanding the financials.
I have a question, Paul.
Yeah,
So then on those chart of accounts definitions, so I'm looking at our board meeting packet today, oh, not board meeting, budget committee packet. So on page 2 of the packet, this would be line 3, advertising general ledger codes 8053, it says employment. So that's when we have like our openings, that when we tell the public that we have open positions. Under advertising, would there also be the board meeting announcements that we publish on news media? Or where
Those
would
ones go legal ads, right?
It's legal.
legal ads?
Legal ads.
Only time we do cost one is for the budget,
Okay,
for legal, they
Got it.
they're separate.
so those are separate.
No, you're fine.
And then under building grounds and maintenance, we have some numbers there for lawn care, garbage service, shelter cleaning. Are those month, quarterly,
These are
yearly?
annual.
Those are annual.
I was just trying to give a snapshot
Yeah.
as to why the numbers in the budget are what they are, just a quick, the top few that are the largest in those categories. And I didn't do it for all of them, but just some of them that stood out a little bit more.
So then whenever we see amounts, it would be annual
Yes.
costs. Awesome.
and it's just for context.
And you know,
Yeah.
when you have this as a generic document, those costs change from year to year, so it's not typical to have those numbers there. It's really nice right now.
Yeah.
But in the future, I wouldn't see that there. I would just see what are the items that go into that.
I did it more for the budget,
Yes.
to be able to just kind of see an easier snapshot.
Right, right. I'm curious as to why there are several ledger codes going into a budget line item.
So like conferences, training and travel,
Mhm.
there's board and staff, and it's also it's your conference fees, it's your travel fees, it's your, there's different training, so it's different, it's not all wrapped up into one line item.
Okay. So you can drill down to the detail a little faster.
For what it's worth, the second iteration or the second part of this document will be a table like this that's broken down by general ledger codes instead of by budget lines. So if you see these, what are there, 10, 11 general ledger codes on this copy, on the other one, you could look up each one and see specifically what that general ledger account contains.
Right. Pamela,
What does HR answers, it's on page 3,
HR Answers is, we do a lot of training through them, they have been, who Sue has used, she uses on a regular basis, but she's used them a lot over this last year with different, employee questions or issues.
so they're a private company. So why, and this is not an accusation, why wouldn't we use SDAO for any of this?
HR Answers, specializes in HR issues
So they,
and HR training.
so their training is in public entities.
No, HR Answers, as a consultant, a lot of people, different, companies and districts use them.
if you're, for instance, if you need to know the federal regulations on a certain thing, or the state regulations when you come to family leave, et cetera, that's where you would go to HR Answers, because you want to make sure you're doing things right from the beginning.
And the other question would be 8092 and 8093 on page 3. But I don't understand the GNSA access to all payroll systems and a late audit fee.
Access to old payroll is, it's, GNSA was our old, payroll system that we used prior to AccuFund. And it gives us, so that we can still go in there and pull up W-2s or different things like that, or past information if needed. And then the late audit fee was simply because our audit was late and the state penalized us for it.
Shouldn't the penalty be to the auditor?
The penalty is to us.
The entity is gonna pay the penalty, and that's one of the things that should spur the entity on to getting that auditor to finish their work in a timely manner.
Well, okay, then what can we do?
So that's where, I also had a question there. This is under taxes, licenses, and interest. And I can see where GNSA is a license, but, a late audit fee, I don't know, how does that come under taxes, licenses, and interest? I don't,
I feel like that's supposed to be taxes, license, interest, or fees.
Is that, did we
I missed the word fee.
fees, okay.
Taxes, licenses, interest and fees.
okay.
Now, that's,
So, to go back to that late audit, that means that are we now going to be facing 2 late audit fees for last year, for the current year and for the year before?
That late audit fee is for our late audit currently.
Okay, so we don't have any that we're gonna be facing in the future that we should be budgeting for?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Oh, I thought this year's audit had not been done,
Hasn't.
so we will be charged a late fee.
We were charged a late fee.
I thought it was for the last year that came in this year. No?
So they charge you the late fee before,
It's late.
Oh.
It's already late.
okay, once you hit the thing.
Oh, I see.
So, this is just a curiosity, dues and subscriptions. While I think it's a good idea, I was surprised to see, the membership in the Cannon Beach Chamber, and I'm wondering whether the district is also a member of the other chambers in the county.
We should be a member of Seaside and Astoria Warrenton. I didn't list every single
Okay.
piece that was in there, just some highlighted.
Okay. And most likely Rotary of Seaside's going away?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the explanations for the chart of accounts?
We'd be glad to have any feedback.
Yeah, I saw. Deanna,
Yeah, going back to on page 3, taxes, licenses, interest and fees. So please explain exactly what is GNSA,
That's the access to our old payroll system,
but what do you mean access?
so that we can pull old W-2s or hours worked or any information that might be requested of someone.
So we don't have like those files downloaded that we own them?
Do, but we don't have them physically here on property. They're stored.
This is a fee we pay for them to maintain those files for us so that we can go back when we need to recover that data.
how long will you have to do that?
As long as we choose.
It's a long time for
It's
employee
10
records.
years for employee records.
Okay. Yeah, I know the other question I had. These are all for expenses. Do you have a chart of accounts also for resources?
Did not do it for resources.
Okay, that would be really good to have. We don't need it right now,
No,
but
but you would need something more explanatory than the budget sheet. You wanna know what 5311 covers is for and what 5310 is for. Is that what you're asking?
yeah. I mean, when you do a chart of accounts, it's all your accounts. So, we don't need it to do our work today.
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing on our agenda,
Pamela has a question.
I'm sorry,
Just
Pamela.
in terms of the resources, I'd be curious of the number of employees, so, which is your calculation for the mass tax. Isn't that right?
I don't know what that,
No, I'm not asking now, I'm just asking if you put that, say, supposing there are 84 people, and then there's a recession, so that could go down, in terms of your funding. So just, and then if you read in the paper, there's been a new employer in the area that would determine you would have an increase in that. So if you had a ballpark figure, this doesn't have to be precise, but there must be some place on the state level that you can access, say, a number of employees per county. And that's how it's calculated, right? It's just calculated on the number of employees, or on the wages, or both
it's
of
wages.
these, just wages. But they have to have a certain number of people that they're doing the wage count, right? So that would be the Department of Revenue.
So Pamela, but that, how did you figure how many full-time versus part-time?
Well, it doesn't have to be exact, just some
Because
ballpark.
See, I think, and I'm certainly not gonna dictate how they compute it, but this is the kind of figure that is out there, that is so changeable, as you are saying. That what you do is you look retrospectively, and you look at what your last couple of years have been, and then maybe you add, because wages are going up, maybe you add a percentage for a CPI or something, and that's what you're gonna put in your budget. As you go through the year, your P&L is gonna show you what the actuals are. And at the end of the year, you're gonna use that to calculate the following year. But there's no real scientific way, you don't get this down to even the dollars eyelash. This one's a real moving target. Did I say that okay?
Perfect.
So just an estimate.
It's just an estimate, and I've just taken the last year to.
Right. Okay, we are now, let's see. Do you think that before we finally get to the discussion of funds, can we have a little discussion about fund transfers? The how and the why and the questions that Deanna was asking from the last meeting,
I had asked that.
or was it?
Yeah, and it's not the funds you had talked about, the 10% of the
Yeah,
supplement.
not supplemental.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Right,
And so I think, well, let's just say we were given a figure for wages in one budget year. Where'd you get the money? You know, you have to, he said, we were told here and there. So if you wanna know where the here and there is, because you may end up short at some point, or may have. Anyway, it's a good idea to know
right.
where you're changing, if you're counting one line item to another.
So maybe this will help, Pamela. Take us through the process of, we get a bulk amount of taxes. Where do you put that in the budget, or where do you account it to? And then how do you distribute it? Because you're gonna distribute it through transfers, fund transfers, are you not?
Our taxes are, I'm not sure how to refer to them. It's money that we can use for whatever we need to use for.
Right.
So it's not, like our SNP funds, it's
It's
not
general
just-
fund.
Yeah, it's just a general fund, money that we
So,
can use for
and-
whatever we need.
And labor costs are in the general fund, so you don't have to move money to pay those labor costs.
Not quite what I'm asking, so you
Okay.
have, So you look at your budget during the year and go, oh my word, you know, you're not gonna make payroll. So you take the money from somewhere else because your budget has been passed and you can only use the money that you have. So I'm asking if that's done, that you show it on, when we get the monthly budget. So for example, if you have $80,000 for your wages and you, well, let's do a low number, $30,000 for wages. You realize several months from now, you don't have enough money to cover the 30,000. So you go, well, okay, we haven't spent money on fuel. We'll take that money to cover the lack of money for payroll. I'm asking that you show that on a monthly, when you do that.
Is this a committee question or is this a board question? Is it something that, are you saying show this on a monthly basis? Is this something you want done as a member of the board?
Yeah, well, I guess. Yeah,
Well,
but you
and
can't
from,
do it on a budget.
Yeah.
Budget is a budget. I mean, it's concrete, more or less, figures.
from a budget committee standpoint, I would endorse that practice because it makes transparency. So that anybody, whether it's a board member or a budget committee member or a writer, can see that money has been moved from one fund to another and the reason for that movement. Because that is also what helps the board, the budget committee, the advisory committee that I also sit on. It helps us understand the finances and what's going on with the district. And I think we can see where this can help us in the future.
Perhaps I can help with that query. We will be doing things differently in the next fiscal year than we've done in the past fiscal years for that very reason. We have very few checking accounts right now. We have an account that taxes and timber go into. We have a general account, which by the way is the only account that the state will transfer money into us, whether it's STIF or 5311, just almost.
I didn't take it.
I saw your hand go.
I know you.
The state can only use one account, so they're gonna give, anything that's coming from the state is gonna go into our general checking account. Going forward, we have established at least two additional checking accounts. One is for the loan proceeds, so that we can track those separately. The second one is gonna be for the STIF proceeds, because they seem to be at the center of what we're going through right now, or at least their disposition. So funds will always come from the state into the general checking account, and Kelly will take those funds, and if there's the STIF payment, she'll put those into the STIF checking account. When we pay bills, we pay the bills out of the general checking account. That's what our checks are designed to draw on. So if we have a payroll coming up, I don't know if that's a good example. If we have a bill that is.
Fuel bill's a really good example.
Fuel bill is good. If we have a fuel bill that needs to be paid, it's gonna be paid, some by STIF, some by general operating funds. And so Kelly will decide how much needs to come into the general checking account to write the check. And how much of that bill is for a STIF project, which could be a couple of routes on, a couple of loops on Route 15 on the weekend or something like that. And how much is gonna come out of general operating, which is not covered by any other grant. So the funds will come from STIF, from general operating into the general checking account. And then the check will be written against that. And all of those transactions will be documented, primarily as a result of what we've gone through recently, not being able to tell exactly which funds paid which expense.
So there would be a sheet that the board would receive monthly of the transactions or not?
That's doable. Every transfer from one account to another that Kelly does needs to be approved by the director.
There's an email that when I need to transfer funds, I email the director and ask for permission to transfer funds from whatever account to whatever account and my reason for the transfer. And then it's not transferred until it's approved.
Well, so could the board receive that as well?
Can receive, they can receive that data, yes.
Because that would be a good accounting procedure, because in places they parcel out certain functions of the accounting system to just one person. So you have like, depending, 10 parts, so that nobody can do.
And we do that to the extent that we can here.
Yeah.
Kelly doesn't handle any of the cash from the vaults. She doesn't handle the payroll directly, but she handles the transactions for that. She doesn't do the general ledger adjustments or pay bills without the director's authority. So there are those checks and balances, but when you only have 2 or 3 people in the chain,
I understand
you
that.
know, you can't divide it too finely.
So I think all these questions is that one, there possibly has been commingling of funds, possibly. And 2, that to show ODOT and all that would like to give us money, that we are overseeing how grant money is distributed, how it's distributed, and the amount. And so if you had a separate, it's a lot of work, but, and I realize that, but we need to show that. And I hope if there's an ODOT up there is listening when here and all the other people in ODOT. And I think that would help, because we are a small entity, you can't have what I just described. So, and I understand that, but if you have the executive director, the finance manager, and the board be looking at the same figure, what's transpired, you have some checks and balances.
Just 2 quick statements. The things that ODOT's required, I don't think are unreasonable or shouldn't be surprising. I think it's things we should have discovered
Absolutely.
ourselves, but I think that there might have been a slightly different management strategy in place at the time. And the other thing I'll bring up is this recommendation by RLS that we replace our accounting system. And when we do, we will do that with a system that does fund accounting and project accounting. And these monies will all be managed within the account. There won't be a question as to where the funds came from, which pot they came from, and which bill they covered. And those will be available in myriad reports, however you want to see it.
That's one of the things that have been mentioned in the minutes, is that to check with other transit agencies what they use, because will be the 3rd since I've been here, accounting system, which plays havoc with the finance manager and with the district as a whole, so that they will just give you an honest opinion. And it's not just transit, but a lot of places, they have troubles with their accounting system.
When we get through the budget and we get back to what our new normal is, I will be then looking to replace our system and getting information from other agencies. But at this point in time, we're just.
Does that money possibly need to go into the budget?
Not at this point, because that's not something that we'll do in 24.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Nothing goes fast. Rebecca.
Paul, you said what we've been talking about, intonating, I think we talked about it in an earlier budget meeting, the last budget meeting, that things are going to be run differently now. We're anticipating that, and there's the idea is about full disclosure and transparency, doing things differently, and the board is putting that as a high priority. And I want to put that on record, that is something that is not incidental, but a priority for us.
And it's happening now. This would not have happened a year ago, I don't think. Even without trouble.
I was retired a year ago.
Not quite yet. You're retired, don't you?
Deanna,
Thank you. So could you please explain how, when we get a grant that has a match requirement that we have to match, that match money comes out of where, and do we do it little by little as we get reimbursement, or do we allocate that match money and transfer it? Like how do the match monies get handled?
So part of our STIF program going this next year, part of the funds for that, John Dreesen helped me to go through and figure out how much funding we needed for match. So we went through and built a spreadsheet. So we have, what funding we're gonna get from ODOT and how much match we need. So we built out how much of it will come from STIF and how much of it will come from property taxes or timber revenue, so that I have that going forward. And then past that spreadsheet, I have another one that I'll be building on a monthly basis that will basically show what money we have incoming, what money we have in our, I'll call it buckets because it's easier, and then our bills, and then what source of funding is paid for those. And then that will roll up into a quarterly spreadsheet, which I'm pretty sure ODOT's gonna want when it comes to our reimbursements, so, and then into an annual spreadsheet.
So then the match monies are like incremental, let's say each quarter when we get some of that money, then we would match whatever is needed for that amount.
Right, so it's like already earmarked as match for 5311 or 53, whatever the match amounts need to be.
Thank you.
Pamela,
Real quick, so does match money, can that come out of the capital reserve or not? No.
no.
Okay.
So given all of the questions that we've had both past meeting and this meeting, and I appreciate everybody's patience, and if you know the answers, you're sitting through and listening to the answers today. But what I reflected on is that we're starting to learn or understand what we don't know. It's hard to know what you don't know, and we're starting to see these are things we don't know. And so I would like to suggest, specifically for the budget committee, but I think, and that includes the board, it could be done prior to budget committee meetings, it could be at the beginning of a year for the board, and invite the budget committee and other committees, but some sort of basic budget training to understand, for everybody to understand, what's Oregon budget law, what's local budget law, what does a fund transfer mean, what is a fund, what's the difference between a fund and a checking account, all of these things, and then without having to look at a budget to approve, what do these columns mean? Previous 2 years, P&L, all these different things, capital reserve, contingency, all those basics, I think you can roll them up. And the better educated the board is, the better educated your advisory committee is, the better educated your budget committee is, the better the district will run. And again, it's transparency. So I would like to suggest that, put that, as a possible to do.
I sit through budget training every year and get something new from it every year.
I believe it. So, yes. Rebecca.
Tina, I'm glad you mentioned that because we have discussed that in previous meetings in the board. So it sounds like we're right on the same page.
Okay, so I'm hoping to see something within the next year, certainly before we come back to this table.
We have that budget training here every year.
you know. the
There's
last year.
different, no,
I know.
not that. That's not what I'm talking about. The
Oh,
2
okay,
hours
in-house.
that we've had as really budget prep, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about,
Like from the
Basic
state budget training.
right, and what is a
Oh.
budget and what are the laws that encumber, if you will, the district? Not just, you know, how do I function as a budget committee person? Because that's what the budget training's been. So I'm talking about something bigger.
Trainer, than someone that would come from the outside, or?
You guys figure it out.
They could take part, I think, in the annual, like the
I
budget
would-
training that I do. Was supposed to go in person this year.
And I would venture to say that SDAO would
Yeah,
provide
Okay,
something.
I'll use like tag them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so do we need, let's see, do we need to take a quick break? It's 11:25, the time has flown. You wanna take a quick break? All right, let's do, can you be back here at 11:40? That gives you 15 minutes. Let's go 15-minute break.